What's going on, guys? Emmanuel Jones here, and I'm here to do a video here. And it's been a while. It's been weeks since the Super Bowl prediction. So now Super Bowl is over. Congrats to the Philadelphia Eagles for winning the Super Bowl. Now we got to get towards doing our way too early 2025 tier rankings for this upcoming for the new year. So we're gonna get started here. So before I give you my video, before I give you my tier rankings for each team. Don't forget to put a thumbs up to the video, subscribe to my channel for more options, and comment down your opinion below to see where you rank your favorite team at. So we're gonna get started here. So this first category we have is the favorite. So the favorite meaning this team is favored to win the Super Bowl and obviously a Super Bowl contender. The dark horse is teams, where I have similar questions about, which they're a team that could totally make the playoffs and that can totally miss, but it could need improvement. Playoffs is where I think teams can make the playoffs with a lot of improvements on their roster. Mid means it means that you average and a team that could totally make the playoffs and miss out on the playoffs. Promising promising is where I could see some teams being promising and kind of need some areas to improve. Where they made improvements where I think the team isn't there yet to make the playoffs. They need like a year or two to figure it out. And finally, the trash category means you suck. Means your team is trash. So we're gonna get started here with this first team. We have the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are an interesting team. Obviously, I love Kyler Murray. I feel like he's a little bit overpaid. He could be overrated. He kind of had a really great season. I like his ability to throw the ball to other playmakers. I like aspects of their offense like James Conner. He's a stud. Um, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a stud. Um, I like some other options at wide receiver like Greg Dortch and Michael Wilson, but I feel like they need to add a number two receiver to complement Marvin Harrison Jr. I love Gannon as a coach, but I feel like he needs to. I feel like this team needs to be a very more aggressive this offseason. The offensive line is pretty good. Defense, they need a lot of improvement though, especially at pass rush and especially at linebacker, defensive tackle, cornerback. Like safety's okay, but they just need a lot of areas to improve this roster. Um, Obviously, I'm not gonna say they're trash because Kyler Murray is just too good of a quarterback. Though you could argue saying that they're mid, but they were kind of mid last year and they almost made their way to the playoffs. But I'm going to put them in the promising section because I think the Cardinals could be a very promising team because, they got a good quarterback in Kyler Murray, who I believe. Their coaching is pretty much average. Offensively, they're good, but defensively, they just need to improve. So I'll just put them in the promising section for now. The Atlanta Falcons is next. The Falcons already announced that that Michael Penix will be QB1 instead of Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins is probably out of there now, which I don't think he's out now, but now they're saying he's gonna back up the Michael Penix. Um, I have questions about Michael Penix now. I don't know if he's gonna be any good, but he could be amazing. But he could be trash at times. But you know, Now, I like aspects of the offense like Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, and Tyler Algier. Like Bijan Robinson was really solid and provide a really good running game for them. Now, when Kirk Cousins was a quarterback, he was kind of good for most of the season and he kind of fell off. And now they benched him for Michael Penix. Now, I could see a place where the Atlanta Falcons, can improve. Um, Offensive line is pretty good. Um, Defensively, I feel like they need a lot of improvement, especially up front in the defensive line. Like Matt Judon is there, Grady Jarrett's there, but I feel like they need another guy. Linebacker is a question mark. Secondary is fine, but I like AJ Terrell. I like Justin Simmons. He's a free agent. Jesse Bates is awesome. But I looked at another corner. They could lose Justin Simmons, but I don't think that's good of a loss. But I feel like they need to improve their defensive line a little bit. Now, Raheem Morris, is a pretty good defensive coach, but I feel like he needs to make some moves, especially on defense where they can have their ability to stop the run and the pass at the same time. But last year their defense was average, like below average in terms of the running and passing game. So yeah. Now I could totally see Michael Penix being very good, but like I said, he could totally suck. Now Atlanta could be trash if Michael Penix just automatically sucks. But I just have a lot of questions to see how good he's going to be. So you could argue saying they're mid team, but I would put them as promising because I feel like the Falcons do have enough pieces on offense. They just don't have they have the pieces to put together a really good team, but I don't think they have the answer defensively to be an elite team just yet. So I just put them in the promising section. Um, you know, this team could totally make this jump to playoff territory, but I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah. The Baltimore Ravens are next. The Ravens are absolutely a favorite. Now here's why, because they got Lamar Jackson's one of the best quarterbacks. John Harbaugh is one of the best coaches. Derrick Henry's a stud at running back. Their receiving core, Zay Flowers had a breakout season. He kind of really missed the rest of the year due to a knee injury. I mean, he's a stud. Mark Andrews is a stud. I mean, Isaiah Likely is too. Now, they could totally trade him, though. They could totally trade Mark Andrews, but I would not be surprised. Bateman is awesome, but he feel like a great 2 or 3 for them. But I feel like they need to add a number 2 receiver, Maybe it's through via trade or maybe one in free agency. They kind of really need to improve their receiving core a little bit more. Offensive line is pretty strong. I believe Ronnie Stanley is a free agent, I believe. Now, I like other pieces on their offensive line like Tyler Lambraw and stuff like that. But I looked at another offensive lineman, like I would at least re-sign him and something like that. Defensively, they're really good up front. They got one older player in Kyle Van Noy, who's their best player. Now they're gonna have to find how the way they're gonna get out of their old man Kyle Van Noy. Their secondary is pretty strong. Now, I believe their defense could totally take a step back this year because players are getting older. I mean, Marlon Humphrey's pretty good. He could fall off. I like that Wiggins kid. Um, Kyle Hamilton's a stud. They still got Marcus Williams, but I can see the Ravens moving on from him because he wasn't pretty good. He kind of fell off last year, so I can see the Ravens moving on from him. Um, you know, I like their coaching. Like I love their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. Um, I don't know who their defensive coordinator is, but he's great. I love their offensive coordinator in Ty Monkey. He provided a really good offense for this team. So yeah, so I believe the Ravens, they are a favorite. The Buffalo Bills is next. The Bills are a favorite because you got Josh Allen, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I like aspects of their offense. James Cook is a stud. Their receiving core is pretty much, I don't think it's great, but I like asset receivers. Getting Amari Cooper was a good move, but he kind of fell off a little bit towards towards the middle of the season. Coleman, coming off a rookie season, um, he entered his second year. I'm gonna see he could be a breakout player. Kincaid's a stud. He kind of had an injury. He kind of missed time due to injury. I love Knox. Curtis Samuel is really good. Khalil Shakir, he's a stud because they paid him. Now, Amari Cooper, he's a free agent, so they could let him go, but I don't think it's a big loss. I'll look to at least add another receiver, like a big time receiver. Maybe it's through via trade or one in free agency. Offensive line should be better than last year. It's pretty good. Defensively, they're pretty good, but they could need to improve areas. I could look at a big time pass rusher, maybe a big time safety. Their corners are good, I believe. Douglas is a free agent. I love Benford, but he kind of was banged up in that Chiefs game. Rap is pretty good. DeMar Hamlin's a free agent. Teron Johnson's getting a little older, but he's awesome. I love that Bishop kid they got from the draft. Linebackers are really good, but they could totally get rid of Von Miller. But I feel like they got to do something about his contract. But there's rumors saying that he could get cut because he could be a cap consultee. So that's a big issue. I love Ed Oliver. I love Gregory Rousseau. I love AJ and Panessa. A pretty good D line there, but I could look at a big time D line, maybe in free agency or through the trade. I could see it happening. So yeah, I think the Bills, they're a favorite. So yeah, but and also I love the coaching staff. Joe Brady has been a really good offense coordinator for them, so I believe he will stay as the Bills offense coordinator, which that's a big, that's a huge move for them. And Sean McDermott, is a pretty good defensive coach. You know, it's pretty solid. So yeah, I believe the Bills are a favorite. The Carolina Panthers is next. The Carolina Panthers are very interesting though. Now, Bryce Young, kind of played really well by the end of the year. I like how the way their offense has played. Especially they were able to be competitive in some of the games. I mean, Bryce Young was throwing deep balls and he was finding guys open. Um if the Panthers, if Bryce Young can at least have a breakout season, I believe this team can totally has what it takes to be a playoff team. Now, they could totally do it in a weaker division because they got to deal with the Bucks, they got to deal with the Falcons, the Saints, and all that. Um, I love Asperger's offense. Hubbard really provided a really solid run game for them last year. Their receiving core, Xavier Legette's entering through his second. He's entering through his second year. Um, we're gonna see what they can get out of Old Man Thielen. He's getting a little older. Offensive line is not pretty bad. I like how the way their O line's been playing. Um, Defensively, the Panthers have a lot of holes. Like, I love Derek Brown. He's pretty good, but I looked at another pass rusher. I looked at Clown. He's a free agent. So and Shaq Thompson. You know, he's a free agent and he's not likely to be re-signed. So, and secondary, they have J.C. Horns a corner. And safety needs improvement. So they have many holes on defense. Like they need safety, they need linebacker, they need defense tackle. After Derek Brown moved to defensive end, so I will look to at least improve the areas on defense. So yeah, we're gonna see what Canales can do. I feel like he's been keeping his team competitive though recently throughout the end of the year, but I don't know if the Panthers gonna have. I don't think they're there yet. I wouldn't say they're trash, but you can argue saying that they're trash though. But the only way that they're only trash is that Bryce Young is totally sucks. But I'm gonna put them in the promising section because I think the Carolina Panthers are pretty much promising. They pretty much have I think they kind of really has what it takes to it takes to in a bad division, like to compete with other teams because I don't really think the Carolina Panthers. I don't think they're there yet. I still think they need to improve the areas, but I love Everett as a defense coordinator, but I feel like they need to improve their defense a little bit, and then they'll be like a real team because I think they're like a year or two away from being a good team. So yeah. But could they surprise in a weak division? Sure, but I don't think they're there yet. Chicago Bears is next. The Bears, the Bears are interesting though. Bears got a new coach, and Ben Johnson. Um, I'm not sure that's an upgrade over Matt Eberflus, so I highly doubt it. Um, they're interesting though. We're gonna see. Now the question is, can the Bears be back in the playoffs? We're gonna see because last season they really missed out on the playoffs. It had to be due to the coaching, and Caleb Williams was not really playing well because he was not being patient with the ball. He couldn't see guys open, like he was blind seeing the field. So it all had to do with that. I love aspects of their offense. Their run game was non-existent. I would look to add another running back, you know, behind DeAndre Swift, because I don't know if he's a guy. Um, the receiving core is pretty talented. Keenan Allen's a free agent. Now they could lose him, but I don't think. Which that might hurt a little bit, but I don't think it will a lot. Cole Kmet's awesome. DJ Moore's a stud. Roma Duze, he was a good rookie. He entered through his second year. Um, Offensive line is solid, but not great. I will look to. It's pretty young. Defensively, they're really good, but I'll look to improve. Um, Outside of Montez Sweat, their defensive line is not great, so I'll look to at least add another pass rusher, another D tackle. Linebackers okay. Secondary is fine. Jalen Johnson stud. Bayer is awesome. Like their safeties are good, but I'll look to improve more the defense, improve at running back. The Bears are pretty interesting though, but you know what? They were close being trashed, but I want to put them as a mid team or in the playoffs, but I don't know if I can trust Caleb because if Caleb can have a great season, I think this team has what it takes to make the playoffs. But I'm just gonna say they're promising or maybe mid for now, but I don't know. I'm probably gonna say they're mid. You can argue saying that they're either. I think they're in this category, either mid or promising. I'm gonna put them in mid just for now because I think the Bears, can get close to at least like 7, 8, or 9 games. Because last year they were below that, but I think they can get up to at least 7 wins this season, if not 8. But I think the Bears can win like 7, 8, 9 games this season. But I have questions about the coaching. How would it matter? And I think the Bears, but I think the Bears, I think the Bears are mid. If Caleb, can bounce back and have a good slump and probably like play better than he did last year, this team has what it takes to make the playoffs, and this team can be dangerous. So yeah, I think the Bears are mid in my opinion. The Cincinnati Bengals is next. The Bengals are interesting though. We're gonna see what they can do with T Higgins. Um, T Higgins is a free agent. They tagged him. We're gonna see if he stays or goes. Um, Even without T Higgins, the offense still pretty good. I mean, Joe Burrow had a breakout season and he was balling out. Jamar Chase is a stud. I love Chase Brown. Mike Gesicki's a free agent, but I'll look to replace him if he leaves. They need a tight end. I'll look to add a receiver if T Higgins leaves. Like losing T Higgins could hurt a little bit, but you can always replace him. They can always get like Cooper Cup or Debo Samuel or something like that. Or maybe an Amari Cooper can help. Offensive line is pretty solid. Um, Defensively, they're pretty good. They don't have many free agents. I believe Mike Hilton's a free agent. BJ Hill's a free agent. Um, I will look to at least keep one of them or not replace them. Pratt did request a trade, but they could lose him. I love Logan Wilson. Um, Secondary is strong. Like I said, Mike Hilton's free agent. Um, so the Bengals got a lot of questions to do on defense now. Can their defense be close to? Can it be close to average? Like, we don't know because they were really bad last year on defense due to the coaching. Now, I did believe they did fire Big Lou, which I think they did, and I think they have a new defensive coordinator, which I'm gonna have to look. So Big Lou, he's out of there. So they did have a new defense coordinator. They have an out, which I don't really know if they do. We're gonna see how well the defense is now. The Bengals, to me, in their coaching, I mean, Zach Taylor, he's kind of average. Um, to me, I don't think the Bengals are close to being a contender just yet. You can argue saying they're a contender because Joe Burrow, but they weren't close to being a contender last year. So I'm probably gonna say put the Bengals in the playoffs for now until something changes because I think the Bengals have enough on offense to make this team a playoff team. Have enough on both sides of the ball to make the playoffs play. So yeah, I like the Bengals as a playoff team. The Cleveland Browns are next. Um, the Browns are absolutely trash. And the reason why the Browns are absolutely trash is, they don't have a quarterback. Now, Deshaun Watson, the team all depended on Deshaun Watson to be a stud, and he's not. Um, Deshaun Watson, did get injured last season. Now, Deshaun Watson, he's probably going to be out for at least most of the season next year, which I believe he will because he had another surgery on his Achilles like last month. Um, um, the Browns, their offensive line, is really bad. They're really getting older in some key spot, especially at tackle, especially at guard. I mean, Wyatt Teller's getting old. Um, Jack Conklin, he's getting older. They got some other pieces like Dewan Jones and all those guys. Like they got younger guys. Defensively, is where I think they could be bad because that kind of includes where I put the Browns in the trash category because Myles Garrett did ask for a trade, and because losing Myles Garrett is a huge blow to that defense because he anchors the D line and pressures the quarterback, and and he's like almost the most double team defensive and in the league. Um, Linebacking is depth is pretty good. Um, the secondary is pretty good. I like their corners. I like their safeties. Denzel Ward also mentioned that if Myles Garrett gets traded, he'll question himself. He wants to be in Cleveland, but yeah, I love Jim Schwartz, the defense coordinator. I love Kevin Stefanski's the offense coordinator, but they did fire Ken Dorsey because the offense was pretty bad. Um, you know, but it all comes down at quarterback. Maybe they bring back Jameis to help, but Jameis he could be bad, but he could probably go somewhere else. Like the Colts. You know, Jameis went to the Colts. That'll be sick. So I mean, I would say the Colts go get Jameis or something. So yeah, so the Browns are just trash for now until they get a quarterback. I could see them drafting one in the first round where I heard they say they could. So yeah, so the Browns are trash. The Dallas Cowboys are next. Um, the Cowboys, they're mid team in my opinion. The reason why I say it mid is that they're going through a coaching change from Mike McCarthy to Brian Schottenheimer. Um, Mike McCarthy, I thought he didn't do a terrible job with the team. So yeah, the Cowboys, they got a lot of work to do in free agency. Rico Dowd's a free agent. Um, I would look to replace him though, but he was pretty good for towards the end of the season as a running back because they didn't really have a run game. Um, the receiving core has a major question mark. I mean, I love CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, all right, but I looked at another receiver in free agency. Brandon Cooks a free agent. I will look to replace him. I don't really know if I don't know if Jalen Tolbert is going to be the next guy, but he's a good three. Cavante Turpin is a great threat at wide receiver. He's a free agent as well. Offensive line is needs a lot of work. I mean, Zach Martin, I mean, could retire, but they could lose him to retirement, but I don't know. So they need a lot of work on the offensive line, especially at guard, at center. They need a lot of improvements there. Um, Defensively, they're pretty strong. I mean, I like ask for their defense, especially like Micah Parsons, Demarcus Lawrence. He's a free agent, but I hope they bring him back. And I like their secondary and their corners, but I look to improve safety. I look to improve linebacker. Maybe I looked at a big time linebacker. Eric Kendrick's a free agent. I don't know if Marvis is really good. Overshown, was pretty good, but he got injured again, which him, missing like the beginning of the season could totally hurt because Overshown, seems like he's a future stud at linebacker. Um, so yeah, the Cowboys, also Udiggy is a free agent, so he could totally leave, but I would look to keep him long term. But I feel like they need to improve D tackle. I'll look at a big time linebacker and a big time safety. Yeah, I'll look to add a big time offensive lineman, add a big time receiver, and that can totally improve their roster. And this team can be dangerous. So yeah, I think Dallas is a mid team, and I feel like they're now. I have questions about Dak Prescott. Is he past his peak or something? Is he past his prime? I still think he can play at a high level, but I feel like Dallas could be entering into this Tony Romo era where they were so strong a couple years ago, and I feel like they're not as strong now, and I feel like they really need to like rebuild this team and revamp this roster. I feel like they pretty much need to in order to be a successful team. But I don't think this team is far away from being a playoff team. But this team can totally make the playoffs though this year, which I wouldn't be shocked if they made the playoffs. But I feel like they're mid in my opinion. I think they'll win about like 8 or 9 games, maybe 10 at best, maybe 11 at best. I don't know. Like we'll see. Um, the Denver Broncos are next. The Broncos are very interesting though because they made the playoffs last year. Now, now they could totally decline. Now, can Bo Nix be that top 10 guy? I don't know. We'll see. I like the coaching staff. Vance Joseph, I love their defense coordinator, Vance Joseph. He was pretty good. Sean Payton's an excellent offensive coach. I look to improve areas of their roster. I look to improve running back. Um, I love Cortland Sutton. He's a stud, but I look to add another guy to go along with him. I look to add another receiver. I look to improve at tight end. Maybe at running back if Javonte Williams leave. Um, Offensive line should be good this year. Defensively, they're pretty good. I love Nick Bedino. I love DJ Jones, he's free agent, but they could lose him, but I don't think that's a good of a loss. Zach Allen is pretty good. John Franklin Myers pretty good. Jonathan Cooper, who they resigned, is pretty good. Secondary's pretty good. Pat Surtain's a stud. He was Defensive Player of the Year. I'll look to improve safety. I'll look to add a number 2 corner. So yeah, I mean Broncos, their defense played amazing last year, where they could totally decline. But maybe I put them as a dark horse, but I'm probably gonna say put them as dark horse for now because I can totally see areas of the Broncos where their defense just totally declines. After playing amazing for like last year and in the year before. So yeah, I put the Broncos as a dark horse for now. Maybe I'm hmm, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. So we'll see. So I'm just gonna put them in dark horse for now because I just have a lot of questions. Because I just feel like they just need to add. I feel like they need to like add a receiver and add a running back, and they pretty much have a little bit of holes, more holes than you think. So I put them as dark horse. The Detroit Lions are next. The Lions are an interesting team. Now the Lions did make the playoffs last year, and all of a sudden they went one and done. Now the Lions, I feel like they could totally take a step back this year due to, them losing half of their coaching staff, and Aaron Glenn, losing their offensive and defense coordinator and Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. So it puts a lot of pressure on Dan Campbell. Jared Goff is pretty good. I like aspects of their offense, like their key weapons, like, Jahmyr Gibbs, he's a stud. He's entered through his 3rd year. David Montgomery's a stud. Amon-Ra St. Brown's a stud. Sam Laporte's a stud. Jameson Williams is pretty good. He looks to be the next great receiver. Offensive line is one of the best in football. I believe that Kevin Zeitler's a free agent. I think they're gonna have to see if they're gonna either resign him or they're either gonna like either they resign him or he's getting older, but even they resign him or they're gonna like let him play for a different team. Defensively, they're pretty good, but they had a lot of players who are out for the season due to injuries. Um, Aiden Hutchinson was out for the year. Marcus Davenport was out for the year. Alin McNeil was out for the year. Um, DJ Reader's a stud. He's a free agent. They could lose him, but I don't think that's a bit of a loss you can think. Zadarius Smith was a good addition to replace. He's a stud. Um, I love the linebackers. I love Azaloni, but he's getting older. I'm gonna see how much he can play. Derek Barnes was out for the year. He's pretty good. Jack Campbell, he's pretty good. Secondary is pretty strong. Carlton Davis is, he's a free agent. Amik Robinson's pretty good. Kirby Joseph had a breakout season. Brian Branch is pretty good. Arnold seemed like he entering his 2nd year. We're gonna see he can be a really good corner for them. But I'll look to improve at corner. Like I said, Carlton Davis, a free agent. I'll look to add one free agency or either through the draft, or else we can resign him. So the Lions, are very interesting though, but I think they're probably going to take a little bit of a step back due to losing their offensive and defense coordinator. But I could argue saying they could be a playoff team, but I don't think they're far from being a contender or anything like that because they were close being a contender last year. So I want to put them in playoffs though, but I don't know. I'm probably gonna say they're a dark horse for now because I feel like the Lions, need to improve areas of their roster because because they had so many injuries on defense and they still found a way to win division and make the playoffs, but they just went one and done. And they did overcome with injuries, which that was good. And they would, especially all the injuries they have on defense, it didn't really kill this team because they kept winning, winning, and winning, and they found a way to do it. So yeah, so I think the Lions are a dark horse. The Green Bay Packers are next. The Packers are interesting though. The Packers, they're very interesting though. Um, I like the Packers made the playoffs last year. They didn't win division, but they came in third. Um, Jordan Love, I mean, he looks like an elite quarterback. Josh Jacobs is a stud at running back. AJ Dillon, he missed a whole season due to an injury, so I expect them back healthy. I love aspects of their offense though, but they might need to improve at wide receiver, like Josh Jacobs said. Um, I like the young talent they have at Jaden Watson. He was out for the year. With Watson, he he kind of really missed the season due to it. He missed rest of the season due to an ACL injury. He should be back healthy. Um, Romeo Dobbs is pretty good. I love Wicks. Um, the tight ends are fine with Kraft and Musgrave, but I could look to add a number one receiver because I feel like those wide receivers are just options, and they feel like they feel like two streets, fours, and fives in my opinion. But I'll look to add one either through the draft or through trade or maybe through free agency. I could. Offensive line is pretty strong. It's pretty good. Um, Defensively, they're pretty good up front, and the linebacking core is pretty good. Secondary is probably their most improvement, especially cornerback is a must need because there's rumors saying that Jair is could likely be on the move due to his cap, due to him being a cap consultee. But I don't know. It's just a rumor saying that they could totally move him, but I don't know though. I'm probably gonna say he stays in Green Bay for now, but the Packers are interesting though because I don't really know if they're going to be able to push the right buttons, to be an elite team. I mean, they have all the answers to be an elite team, but I just don't know they're going to be able to press the right buttons, to be a favorite or something or a contender. But they could be a dark horse. But I'm gonna say playoffs for now because I'm not sure they're going to be able to press the right buttons to be a favorite vote. But I mean, the Packers, you can argue saying they are a favorite. So because depends on how well Jordan Love's going to play, depends on how well the offense will play and the defense will play, and depends on they're going to keep Jair or not. Which I hope he stays, but because if they let him go, I don't really know how good their secondary is going to be. Their secondary could be shaky. Who knows? Houston Texans are next. The Texans to me, I think they're going to be a playoff team, so I'll put them in the playoffs because I think the Texans, they're pretty strong. Um, in my opinion, I feel like the Texans are a very fascinating team. I love Stroud; he's amazing. Um, I love the running back Joe Mixon is pretty good. I love the receivers. I love Nico Collins. I like Tank Dell. I love Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs a free agent, but they could lose Stephon Diggs, but I don't think that's big of a loss as you think. Um, I love Dalton Schultz. He's fine. I don't know about Tank Dell. Now he could totally miss missed a whole season because he had a serious injury again. So we're gonna see what their offense is gonna look like without him. Um, Offensive line, is pretty good. I believe Mason's a free agent. Um, Defensively, I don't think they have a lot of free agents. Will Anderson's a stud. Daniil Hunter's a stud. We're gonna see what we can get from him. I love Autry. I love Barnett. I love Edwards. I love Hudges. Linebacking depth is really good. Secondary is pretty strong. Um, they could look to lose Ward, but I don't think that's big of a loss. You can think it will be. Petry's a good safety. So yeah, I love their defense, especially the defensive coordinator. I love Ryan, D'Amico Ryan's the defensive coach. Um, I feel like getting rid of Bobby Sloak, was probably a right decision for him because his offense, was not as great. So I think the Texans, are just a mid team. So yeah, so I think the Texans, there's a playoff team, but they could totally decline in a weak division, and they can totally surprise in a weak division as well. So yeah, I think the Texans are a playoff team. The Colts are next. The Colts are very fascinating. We're gonna see what who the Colts quarterback's gonna be. Now I believe the Colts can totally add a quarterback, totally get competition for Anthony Richardson because I don't think Anthony Richardson's any good. I love Shane Steichen as a head coach, but I feel like he's kind of average in my opinion. The Colts, they're interesting. I love Jonathan Taylor. He's a stud at running back. I love the receivers. I love Pittman, Downs, and Mitchell. He kind of disappoint. He could totally have a year or two breakout. And I love Pierce. He's pretty good. I love the tight end. So yeah. So yeah. Offensive line is pretty strong. The defensive line is pretty good, but I feel like the scheme needs to at least they need to work on the scheme on their back half of the defense. Look to improve at corner, safety. I mean, they got a new defense coordinator, Big Lou. After getting rid of Gus Bradley. I mean, Gus Bradley was kind of bad. So yeah, but the Colts are very interesting though. But I don't want to put them in mid and put them as a playoff team for now because it just depends on what they can do at quarterback. I'm probably gonna say they're promising for now because I feel like the Colts do have enough pieces to be a promising team, but I just don't think they're there yet. I don't think they're close to being a playoff team just yet. Like they could surprise in a weaker division, but I just don't think the Colts are just there yet being a playoff team. I think they're like a year or two away from being a playoff team, but unless they can add a quarterback, either they trade for a Matthew Stafford or let's say they get a Kirk Cousins or a Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, then I feel like this team can totally be very dangerous. So I put the Colts as promising. The Jacksonville Jaguars are next. The Jaguars are interesting though. We're gonna see what they're gonna do with Christian Kirk. Now he could leave. I love other aspect of their offense. Brian Thomas is a stud. He had a good rookie season. He looks like to be next great receiver. Gabe Davis kind of fell off though, but he expected to be back healthy. Ingram's a stud. I love ETN and Bixby at running backs. Trevor Lawrence is kind of average in my opinion. Now they are going from coaching change from Doug Pearson to Liam Cohen. Um, Offensive line does need improvement. I mean, Sherritt's a free agent. Defensively, they're pretty good, especially up front. I love Josh Allen. He's a stud. Um, I love Roy. He's pretty good. Um, Armstead's a stud. I love Walker. The linebacking core is pretty good. I love Alua Khan and Loy. Secondary is pretty good. I love Tyson Campbell. Darnell Savage is pretty good. Andre Cisco's a free agent, but they could lose him, but I don't think that's big of a loss as you think. I look to improve at number two corner, maybe at like the nickel position. I'll look to improve that. I feel like the Jags do have enough pieces, but I feel like, I don't think they're far from being a playoff team. But this is a team that can totally make the playoffs, though, but they were so mid last year and all that. So, as for now, you can argue saying they're a dark horse team, but with a new coach, I feel like it might take some time. So, I'm probably going to put them in the mid category for like right now because I just don't know if because this team has what it takes to be back in the playoffs, but I just don't know if they're there yet. I think they're just a year away from being a playoff team. Because if they can make, because if they can make some right moves and Trevor Lawrence can get back to where he was, and he stays healthy, I feel like this team can totally be a tough team to beat in the AFC, and they can totally surprise in the weaker division as well. So yeah, I got the Jags. They're mid. The Kansas City Chiefs are next. The Chiefs, did get obliterated. The Chiefs, obviously, they got totally obliterated, got, crushed in the Super Bowl. Um, we're gonna see what they can do with Travis Kelsey. He probably might play one more year, and I feel like he has declined. Patrick Mahomes, they still got Mahomes, they still got Andy Reid, they still got Spags. He's one of the best defensive coaches. Um, the Chiefs, their offensive line, is really in shambles because they're getting older. They really need a left tackle, a right tackle, a guard, a center. Like they really need those stuff. So their offensive line is totally in shambles because they're getting older in some spots. Jawan Taylor, he's not really good. Trey, we're gonna see what they can do with Trey Smith, which I heard they're saying they're gonna franchise tag him. Well, I think he'll stay. I love Creed Humphrey. So, and I love Joe Tooney, but he's getting older. So, yes, they really need offensive line improvement. The receiving core is pretty good. I mean, Worthy's a stud. Rasheed Rice is a stud, but he did miss the rest of the season due to an injury. But I expect him to be back healthy. Hope he can be a breakout. Hope he has another breakout season. They need a number three receiver. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster is a free agent. DeAndre Hopkins is a free agent. I'll look to keep one of them, but not both. So we'll see. So I mean, defensively, the Chiefs need number three receiver. So defensively, they'll probably be pretty good. I mean, Chris Jones getting older, but he was beat up in the Super Bowl. I love Karlaftis. I love Josh Uche. Um, Linebacking is pretty good. I love Leo Chanel. I love Drew Tranquil. I mean, Nick Bolton's a free agent, but they need to re-sign him. I love their secondary. Trent McDuffie's a stud. Justin Reed, I love him, but he's a free agent. Brian Cook's pretty good. Bush is pretty good. But I looked at another cornerback. I love Watson and Josh Williams, but I looked at another corner. I looked at a safety. I looked to either resign Justin Reed, something like that. So the Chiefs, they pretty much have playing more holes than you think. So I could totally say they're a favorite to me because they were close to getting a Super Bowl, but this is the first time I'm probably gonna say they're not a favorite because they have a lot of holes, more holes than you think. So I'll put them in the playoffs for now. So maybe I'm wrong. Depends on what they can do with Travis Kelsey. So yeah. So yeah, they could totally miss out on the playoffs, but I would not be surprised. But I thought the Chiefs might take a little bit of a step back this year because they just need areas to improve. So yeah. So I'm gonna say the Chiefs are in the playoffs for now. The Las Vegas Raiders are next. The Raiders, they're going through a coaching change. Through Pete Carroll, and they don't have a quarterback right now. I love aspect of their offense. Brock Bowers seems like he's a stud. He could look to be the next great tight end. Myers is awesome, but I'll look to add another receiver. Offensive line is pretty good, but I looked in. They need improvement right here because they're in shambles. Defensively, they're pretty good up front. Linebacking depth, they could totally improve that. Secondary needs a lot of improvement. So yeah, they need more areas of the team, especially they brought in Chip Kelly to help out the offense. Yeah, but the Raiders don't have a quarterback right now, so I could say they're promising, but the Raiders they're just trash because they don't have a quarterback right now, and all that. But maybe if they get like an Aaron Rodgers or maybe trade for Stafford or get Russell Wilson. Okay, maybe I say they're mid or a dark horse or anything like that, but I'm just gonna say they're trash because they just don't have a quarterback right now. And they do need to improve their defense a little bit more and do need to improve their offense, like add a receiver, a big time receiver, which that could improve their roster a little bit. So yeah, the Raiders are just trash. The Los Angeles Chargers are next. The Chargers are another fascinating team. We're gonna see, what they can do do with their defense. They have Khalil Mack's a free agent. Joey Bosa could leave due to cap consulty. Um, I'm a little concerned about their pass rush a little bit because if they lose these guys, I mean that their defensive line could totally be in shambles. But they can even if they lose these guys, they'll probably replace them by either getting a Miles Garrett or maybe like getting Demarcus Lawrence or something like that. And they're offensively, I think they're pretty good. Lad McConkey's a stud. Quentin Johnson's getting better. I love Palmer, but I looked at another receiver to go along with Lad McConkey. I love that tight end kid, but yeah, J.K. Dobbins had an amazing season. He's a free agent now. He could go. I looked at add a running back to replace him. Um, Secondary, I love Asante Samuel. I mean, he kind of fell off last year. Now he didn't really. He was pretty good. He didn't play much, but I know he's a free agent. So I look to improve corner. I love the safeties. I look to improve linebacker, defensive tackle. So yeah, I mean the Chargers. I mean I love their defense coordinator and their offense coordinator, Greg Roman, and I do love Harbaugh as a coach. Now the Chargers, I feel like they pretty much have more holes than you think. So maybe they make the playoffs. I don't know, but maybe there's a chance they could totally miss out. But I'm probably gonna say they're a dark horse. Maybe they're mid, but I'm probably gonna say they're just a dark horse because Herbert is pretty good. They pretty much have the pieces, enough on offense and defense, to be an elite team. So yeah, so I don't think the Chargers are close to being an elite team yet. I feel like they're probably far away from being there. So I put the Chargers as a dark horse. The Los Angeles Rams are next. The Rams are interesting though. We're gonna see what they're gonna do with Matthew Stafford. Like, are they gonna trade him or they're gonna keep him? Even if they trade Matthew Stafford and Cooper Cup, the Rams can totally take a step back. But if they get Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams to replace those guys, I mean, I still think the Rams can be good. I love Puka Nacua. He's a beast. Tyler Higbee, I like Tyler Higbee, but he's getting older. Kyron Williams, is a little bit overrated, but I feel like he's a stud. Offensive line is pretty good. Defensively, they're very interesting though. I love their defense coordinator. I mean, Jared versus a stud. Um, yeah, Jared versus stuff. I love Brandon Fixby. Colby Turner's pretty good. Um, I like to improve their defensive line a little bit. I mean, linebacker suspect, but I look to improve that. Secondary is pretty good. I love the safeties, but I look to improve at corner because they need a cornerback. So yeah, so I think the Rams, they don't have a lot of holes, but especially for corner they do. But I could totally say they're mid. They could totally be a dark horse team, but because of the Rams, if they draft a quarterback this year and not get Aaron Rodgers and don't keep Stafford, this team will totally be bad. But since Matthew Stafford's there for now, as I heard the news that he will stay, I'm gonna say they're gonna get back to the playoffs because I think the Rams do have enough pieces, on offense and defense to like be an elite team. So yeah, I'd say the Rams are in the playoffs. Miami Dolphins are next. The Dolphins. Let's not argue. I mean, this team, I think they're somewhere between mid and dark horse. I'm gonna say they're mid. The reason why I say the Dolphins are mid is because I have questions about the Dolphins. From their philosophy standpoint, like, will the Dolphins, could they do enough? Could they be a playoff team? Which I don't really know. I think they're mid because because of personnel standpoint. Like, Tua, he did miss time coming off an injury, but I don't know if he'll be the same player. Now, they still got other aspects of their offense. I love Achane. I love Jonnu Smith. I love Tyreek Hill and Dylan Waddle. They're studs. OBJ's a free agent, but they could let him go. Offensive line is totally in shambles, and Teron Armstead is getting a little bit older. So yeah, defensively, I love aspect of defense like Calais Campbell. He's a free agent. They could let him go, but I don't think that's a big deal. I love Sealer. I love Ogball. I love that Robinson kid. He's entered to his second year. I love Phillips and I love Bradley Chubb. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be the same player because they're cut off injuries. I love Jalen Ramsey, but he kind of slowed down a little bit. Holland's a free agent. Poyer's a free agent. Like the Dolphins, defensive, like they pretty much have talent, but they had a lot of talent throughout the years. But I feel like they may not have. I feel like they're not as talented as from years ago because right now they're declining. Because they're because right now they're coaching. But I thought their coaching is, Mike McDaniel could be fired, but I thought their coaching is pretty much an average. Maybe the Dolphins can win 10 or 11 games, but I don't know they're good enough to make the playoffs. I think they're close to being an 8 to 9 win team, but I don't see them winning 6 games. But I think they'll go from where win maybe like 9 games this year due to the personnel because they lost their defense because of the coaching and all that. So yeah. Minnesota Vikings are next. The Vikings, they made the playoffs last year and they showed they were a contender. But you know what? Sam Darnold's a free agent. They could lose him, but now they got JJ McCarthy as a starter, which I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know how good he's gonna be, but I'm probably gonna say they could be promising though. But I think they're mid because I just have questions about JJ McCarthy because I don't know how good he's gonna be. I love aspects of their offense. I love Justin Jefferson. I love T.J. Hockenson. I love Jordan Addison. I love Aaron Jones, but Aaron Jones is a free agent, but if they lose him, they can find somebody to replace him. Offensive line is pretty good. The defense, it played really well last year. I love Brian Flores as a defense coordinator. I love Kevin O'Connell as a good offensive coach. Now they do need to improve corner. Gilmore's a free agent. Byron Murphy's a free agent. Cam Biden's a free agent. Now they could lose all these guys. We're gonna see what they can do from Ullman, Harrison Smith. Now their secondary could totally be in shambles, but I love Greener. I love Harrison Phillips. I love Ivan Pace. I love Andrew Van Ginkel and all these guys. But I thought the Vikings defense, it should be pretty good. I mean, last year they showed they were like a top 5 defense. Last year, like the Broncos, like I said, they were top 5 defense, and the Texans were a top 5 defense. The Vikings defense, they could decline after playing an amazing season last year, but it is what it is. But the Vikings are just mid because I just have questions about him and all. I have questions about the coaching and all, the quarterback and all that. Because if JJ McCarthy can show that he could be good, then I think this team can totally be back in the playoffs. But we could see a scenario where he could suck. So yeah, I think the Vikings are a mid team. The New England Patriots are next. The Patriots are an interesting team. We're gonna see what Drake May can do. He's coming off a rookie season now. He's set for his sophomore slump now. The question is, can the Patriots be back in the playoffs? We don't know because they have a new coach in Mike Vrabel, which I think he's pretty good. Now, if they can add a big time receiver, a big time running back, big time tight end, and probably a big time edge rusher, I think the Patriots will be back in the playoffs and the team could be dangerous. Because they do have more holes than you think. Because they need receiver. They already have a tight end. They have a running back. They need to improve the old line. Barmore should be back. Barmore should be back coming off an injury. I love Keon White. I love Dietrich Wise. Devon Gottschalk is. I believe he could be gone because they gave him permission to seek a trade. I like the linebackers. Bentley should be back. The corners are pretty good. I love their young defense. So I think the Patriots, I could say they're mid, but I'm probably gonna say they're pretty much a promising team because I feel like they need to at least like fill in some holes on the offense, especially the offensive line and on defense a little bit. But the defense doesn't have a lot of holes, but the offense just has holes because they need a wide receiver and they need a big time one, like a DeAndre Hopkins or Trey for Cooper Kupp or Deebo Samuel. I feel like this team could totally be dangerous. So I put the Patriots, let's say they're just like, I'll put them in promising for now. So yeah. New Orleans Saints are next. Um, the Saints. I could say they're promising, but they're trash. Saints got a new head coach in Kellen Moore. I don't know how good he's gonna be. Now I do have questions about Derek Carr. Like he's regressing. He's coming off an injury. I don't think he's the same player he is. I love aspects of their offense. Alvin Kamara, he's getting a little bit older. Um, I love the receivers. I love Shaheed. I love Chris Olave. They might trade him. Jawan Johnson's a free agent. Offensive line is pretty much in shambles because they're getting older. Because they need like a they're getting very old on the offensive line because they need a right tackle, a left tackle, and a guard. So their offensive line is pretty much in shambles. Defensively, they're pretty good, but they're regressing. I mean, they're getting older on defense, like Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, and they got Tyrann Mathieu. Like they're getting older on the defense, so what they could regress due to that. Chase Young is a free agent. Willie Gay's a free agent. Um, I love Carl Granderson. I love pieces on their defense, but they're getting older in some key spots. Which I think there's rumors saying that Derek Carr could totally be on the move due to a cap consultancy. So basically, the Saints, they're trash. So that's why I put the Saints in the trash category. Clint Kubiak, which I love how the way they keep him, which that's a huge move. So yeah, I mean Giants are next. Giants, they're trash. Reason why I say they're trash is because I think the Giants, Giants are trash because they don't have a quarterback right now. They just got rid of Daniel Jones towards the middle of the season. Um, I love aspects of their offense like Tyrone Tracy, Malik Neighbors, Rondell Robinson. Darius Slayton is a free agent. They could lose him, which I don't. It could hurt a little bit, but I don't think much. Hyatt is really good at wide receiver. Offensive line is they're young on the offensive line, but they need improvement at guard, center. So yeah, they're young. Defensively, they're not really good, but they got some good players there. They got young players like Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and Aziz Aljuri and Bobo Okrike and Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, they got some aspects to their defense, but they're not as good. Um, Secondary needs improvement a little bit. I love the corners, but I'll look to safety a little bit. I'll look to improve their secondary a little bit. Now, Dayball, I like Dayball as a head coach, but I feel like they need a new coaching. Now, I believe he could be fired after this season. We're gonna see what they can do. If they can add a quarterback, if they get like an Aaron Rodgers or maybe trade for Stafford or Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, okay, maybe they'll be promising or mid or maybe a dark horse. But we're gonna see about that. The Jets are next. Um, as I heard the news that the Jets are moving on from Aaron Rodgers. They don't have a quarterback because right now the Jets did announce saying that they're parting ways with Aaron Rodgers. So I'm put the Jets in the trash category. Um, the Jets, they're now the reason why I put them in the trash category because they don't have a quarterback. Um, they do have talent like Garrett Wilson. Devontae Adams is there, but he could be on his way out. I love Conklin. I love Brees Hall. I like the young talent. Um, I love Lazard, but he totally declined. Offensive line is pretty good. Defensively, I feel like they're pretty good. They got some free agents that they could totally let go. CJ Mosley's a free agent. DJ Reed's a free agent. Hanson Reddick's a free agent, but they could totally lose all these pieces. But it could hurt a little bit, but not much. I feel like Jermaine Johnson should be back healthy. Quentin Williams is a stud. I love Will McDonald. I love Kinlaw. I love Sauce Gardner. Um, they might need to look to improve at safety, improve and look to add another corner. Um, so yeah, so I think the Jets, they're trash, because they need a quarterback, and I really don't love the coaching. I love Aaron Glenn, but I don't love the coaching staff. I mean, I did love the hire, but I just don't like the coaching staff. So yeah, the Jets are trash. Maybe they add a quarterback, like they could totally draft one, like, or else they can totally like get like a Justin Fields or a Kirk Cousins, or maybe they can add a Russell Wilson in free agency or trade for Stafford. Like if they can get a veteran quarterback, okay, let's say maybe they're a dark horse, maybe they're mid, maybe they're promising, maybe they would be a playoff team. So yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles are next. The Eagles are a favorite. Um, Here's why the Eagles are a favorite, because they won the Super Bowl. I love Hurts. I love aspects of the offense. I love Saquon. He's a stud. AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert is a stud. They're all studs. I love the move they got Dotson. Offensive line is one of the best in football. Now I believe Becton's a free agent. He could leave, but I don't think that's huge of a loss. Defensively, I feel like they could be better, but they could decline after playing amazing all season. Um, I believe Milton Williams is a free agent, and Zach Bond's a free agent. Josh Sweat's a free agent. CJ Garner Johnson's a free agent. They could lose Darius Slay, but I don't think that's big of a lossy thing. But he's not a free agent because like he said, he's going to play one more season. Um, I'll look for the Eagles to improve linebacker. I'll look to improve pass rush. Maybe they trade for Myles Garrett if they lose Josh Sweat because he's a free agent. Milton Williams a free agent as well too. So we'll see. Um, and the Eagles, I love the coaching staff. I love Vic Fangio. He's doing a really good job of the defense. Nick Sirianni's a good offensive coach. So yeah. So I believe the Eagles are a favorite. We can see them take a step back though this year. So yeah. The Pittsburgh Steelers are next. The Steelers to me are another fascinating team. Now we're gonna see what they can do at quarterback because I know Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are all free agents. So I believe they're gonna keep one of them. But if they lose these guys, they'll find somebody to replace them, like a Matthew Stafford or Kirk Cousins or something like that. But I don't know they're close to being a favorite or being in the playoffs. That's bold. I could totally see this team missing the playoffs, though, but they pretty much have more holes than you think. Like, wide receiver, that's totally a need. They need a number two receiver outside George Pickens. Mike Williams is not very good. He's a free agent. I love the tight end. I love the running backs. They're free agents. They could lose Najee, but I don't think that's big of a loss. You think that I love Warren. The offensive line is young, but it's not great. I love the defensive line, but they're getting a little bit older. TJ Watt and Cam Hayward are getting older. I love Highsmith. I love Herbig. Um, I love Patrick Queen. I love the secondary. Joey Porter is a stud. Dante Jackson's a free agent. Mika Fitzpatrick's a stud. So I love their defense. So, but I feel like their defense should still be top three or top five. Like the Eagles, like I said about the Eagles, they could decline. Like the Eagles defense will be top five in the league, could be top 10. But the Steelers to me, they feel like a playoff team to me because they made the playoffs for 2 straight years, but they could totally miss out and disappoint. But I'm probably gonna say they're mid because I'm not sure this team, has what it takes to make the playoffs. Though, because I love Mike Tomlin as a head coach, I love Arthur Smith, how the way they keep him as the offensive coordinator. But I'm not sure if the Steelers, they made the playoffs, last year, but I think they're gonna decline because I'm not sure who the quarterback's gonna be. So I'm just gonna put them in mid. Maybe they're promising, but I won't put them in trash. But I think they're mid, which mid makes a lot of sense. The 49ers are next. The San Francisco 49ers to me, um, they missed out in the playoffs last year, but I think they should bounce back and make the playoffs this year. I'm gonna say they're in the playoffs because I think the 49ers have enough on both sides of the ball to be a real team. Now they could trade Debo Samuel. Now trading him can totally help. I mean, they still got Brandon Ayuk there. Ricky Pearsall in his second year. They got Juwan James. He's a stud at receiver. George Kittle is a stud. Christian McCaffrey coming back healthy. That should help. And I feel like, bringing back Jordan Mason can help. Because I feel like without Christian McCaffrey, I like how the way they were able to run the ball really well with Jordan Mason and Isaac Guerrero, which that's pretty good. So bringing back Jordan Mason could totally is pretty could help. I love the offensive line is pretty good. Trent Williams should be back healthy. I could totally look to add another receiver to help out Brandon Ayuk because he should be back coming off an injury. But I feel like they may not need to replace Debo. I think they can run a good offense. I think they can run a good offense with IU, Pearsall, and Juwan Jennings very well. And defensively, they need to look for improvement. I could look at another pass rusher. I'll look to add another D tackle. Um, yeah, I'll look to add a linebacker. Maybe they may not need to replace linebacker. I mean, Greenlaw's free agent. Bufon's free agent. I'll look to bring one of them back because they need safety. They might need another linebacker. Maybe they don't need to replace Greenlaw. I feel like Winters is pretty good. I feel like Winters and Warren could be a good linebacking duo. Ward, like I said, is a free agent. He could totally come back, but he can totally resign or he could totally leave. I mean, I love Lenore. I love the other safeties and Brown. Like they need a lot of work on defense, especially they pretty much have more holes because they have a few free agents there. Um, Nick Bosa is a stud. Um, I like how the way they brought back Robert Sala as defense coach, which I think he is a lot better than Steve Wilkes. Kyle Shanahan, he's a really good offense play caller. So yeah, I'll keep him long term. So and I have questions about Purdy, like, is he past his peak? Is he past his prime? Like we don't know. I feel like the Niners, they should be back in the playoffs though. Like the Niners should be back in the playoffs though, no doubt. I mean, as long as they stay healthy, I feel like this team is totally back in the playoffs because last year they missed out. The health. So yeah. So the Niners are just back in the playoffs. Seahawks are next. Um, Seahawks. They're I don't know, but I think they're mid in my opinion. I don't think they're close to being a playoff team because here's the thing: the Seahawks. I love the talent they have. I love the receivers. I love DK and Lockett and Jackson and Jay. I love the tight end and I love the running back and Kenneth Walker. I mean, they could totally trade Tyler Lockett, but I don't think that's huge of a loss. Offensive line may needs a little work. Defense, I love, aspects of them. I love Mike McDonald. He's a really good defensive coach. Um, I might need to look to improve defensive line a little bit. I love Leonard Williams. They linebacker is fine. I love the cornerbacks. I love the safety. Um, yeah, I mean, I love the improvement on the defense. So yeah. Um, so Yeah, I like how the way I love their defense. I love Gino. I love the offense. They need to improve the offensive line. They need to improve the defense. Um, a little bit. I love the pass rush. I love the. I mean, secondary's fine. So yeah, I think Seattle just mid. I mean, they could totally be a dark horse team in my opinion. So yeah, the Buccaneers is next. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They won division last year, so I'm gonna say they're a playoff team because basically they made the playoffs last year. I love Baker Mayfield. He's the top 10 quarterback in the league. Um, I love I love the receivers, Mike Evans. I love McMillan. He's a solid receiver. Chris Godwin's a free agent, but they could lose him, but I don't think that's big of a loss. You think I feel like without him, I feel like they did run a good offense with Mike Evans and McMillan and Auden. I love Auden, he's a stud. I love the running backs and Bucky Irving, which I think he's a stud. Rashad White is pretty good. Offensive line is pretty solid. I mean, losing Liam Cohen was not a huge deal. They still got it's probably big of a loss because now they gotta have a new offense coordinator. And now I love Todd Bowles. He's a good defensive coach. Now the defense is pretty good. They could look to improve at maybe edge player. I love Cansey Villa and Bayi. Von Levante Davis a free agent. Um so yeah. So I can look to improve that. Corner is pretty good, but they might need another two corner outside Jamel Dean because he's pretty good. Antoine Winfield's a stud. So yeah, they need improvements on their roster, but I just don't think they're good enough. So yeah, so the Bucks, they pretty much have the personnel and they have the answers to be a real team, but I just don't know that they're going to be enough to be a favorite due to the coaching. Because I feel like they pretty much have more holes than you think. So yeah, I put them as a playoff team because I still think they're the team to be in that division. Because I don't think the Falcons, Saints, and Panthers are nowhere good, close to being good. Tennessee Titans are next. The Titans, they're trash, no doubt about it. Because the reason why they're trash is because they don't have a quarterback. Will Levis kind of fell off last year. Now they could look to get a different quarterback. They could look in the draft. They could look through free agency. They could look through via trade. Um, they do need to improve, wide receiver. They need to improve the offensive line. Um, Defensively, they need to improve a little bit because outside Justin Jeffrey Simmons, I don't think is great. And Harold Landry is pretty nice, but they did ask him to seek a trade. I believe he's on the block. Um, the corners are good, safeties are pretty good, but I'm really not a fan of the coaching staff anyway. So I think the Titans, they're trash. Maybe they need one. I feel like they're a year or two away from being a world team. So yeah. And last but not least, we have the Washington Commanders. Um, Washington's very interesting though because they did make the playoffs last year and they did make the NFC Championship game. Jaden Daniels, he's sweet. He's pretty good. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year. I love aspects of their offense like Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, Terry McLaurin's a stud. I love Luke McCaffrey and Damami Brown, but I feel like they need another wide receiver to complement Terry McLaurin. Like I'll look to add another receiver either through free agency or through the draft, or maybe through a via trade. Offensive line is solid. They might need a little work. Defensively, I feel like they need to improve a little bit throughout the edge player because Dante Fowler's a free agent. Linebacker's okay, but Bobby Wagner's free agent. But I feel like they could lose him, which I don't think that's big of a loss. Secondary's pretty good. They got Lattimore in there. They I might look to need to improve at corner and safety, edge rush. Um, Offensive line needs improvement. Receivers improvement. Tight ends an improvement as well. So yeah, I mean Washington, they pretty much have more holes than you think. So maybe I'll put them in the playoffs, but I don't think they're gonna be as good as last year. So, but I don't think they're mid. But I'm gonna put them in dark horse because I think Washington does need a lot of improvement though, and I don't think they're gonna be as good as last year. And after an amazing season, I feel like they could decline. I love the coaching staff and Dan Quinn. I love Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, they were able to keep him, which that's a huge plus. So, but I just feel like Washington needs a lot of areas to improve. But I feel like dark horse is just the right answer for them. So yeah, I put them as a dark horse team. So yeah, I mean they could totally decline, which I would be shocked they did, and miss the playoffs. But I surely wouldn't be shocked if they did. So yeah, Washington is dark horse. So as for now, I got the Ravens, Bills, and Eagles as a favorite. Broncos, Lions, Chargers, and Commanders as dark horse. Playoffs: Bengals, Packers, Texans, Chiefs, Rams, Niners, and Bucks. Mid: Bears, Cowboys, Jags, Dolphins, Vikings, Steelers, and Seahawks. Promising: Cardinals, Falcons, Panthers, Colts, and Patriots. And trash: Browns, Raiders, Saints, Giants, Jets, and Titans. I'm gonna see how many teams we got in the playoffs. Let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I think we need at least. Okay, we got 14 teams in the playoffs. Okay, maybe I need to add another team in the playoffs though. Let's see who it could be. You know what? Let's put the Commanders in the playoffs. Let's put them in the playoffs for now. Okay, let's see how many NFCs. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 6. We need one more. We got 7. We got 1, 2, 3. Okay. There, we seems like we got enough playoff teams. Let's see. Okay, there. We got 14 teams in the playoffs. So yeah, so basically, yeah. Those are all my okay, now we got Washington in the playoffs too. So yeah. Well, all right, guys. That's it. Those are all my NFL tier rankings. That those are all my NFL. Those are all my early NFL 2025 tier rankings. For now. So thank you guys for watching. If you disagree with me, just let me know in the comments section below where you rank your favorite team at. Well, this is Emmanuel Jones for Big Fan. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to put a thumbs up to like the video and subscribe to my channel and see more of my videos. So yeah. Well, this is Emmanuel Jones, Big Fan. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Peace.